On and off since 2001, successive Australian governments have held asylum seekers in detention centres on the tiny Pacific island of Nauru and on Papua New Guinea's Manus Island. More than 100 children and babies are currently in detention on Nauru with their families. A number of other children and their families currently in Australia for medical treatment are due to be sent back to the island. This is no place for kids. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees describes Nauru's detention camp as rat-infested, cramped and very hot. The UN Committee Against Torture labelled the conditions cruel, inhuman and unlawful. People live in mouldy tents with 12 to 15 other families. There is little privacy. Toilets are dirty and unhygienic. Despite the sweltering heat, water is scarce and showers are restricted to 2 to 3 minutes. The tropical environment and cramped living conditions mean disease and illness are rife. The children have few toys, books or play equipment. They play with rocks and stones. Medical care is substandard, with little specialist care for children. Parents say they can't properly care for their children in such an unsanitary, unsafe environment. When workers and asylum seekers started to speak out about conditions on Nauru, the government initially tried to discredit the whistleblowers. But as a multitude of doctors, nurses, psychiatrists and welfare officers with first-hand experience raised concerns, the government was forced to investigate claims of violence and abuse at the centre and the conduct of security guards employed there. The investigation, headed up by former Integrity Commissioner Philip Moss, found evidence of harassment, bullying, violence, sexual abuse and rape, including against children.
Transferees are apprehensive about their personal safety and have concerns about their privacy. There were both reported and unreported allegations of sexual and other physical assault.
The Prime Minister said the misconduct uncovered by the inquiry was appalling and reprehensible and committed to implementing the Moss recommendations to improve the situation. But those who have witnessed the conditions for themselves say no amount of service improvements can make Nauru detention a suitable environment for anyone, particularly children. The Australian Human Rights Commission found that children on Nauru were suffering from extreme levels of physical, emotional, psychological and developmental distress. This distress manifests as bedwetting, insomnia, nightmares, fear, anger, anxiety, withdrawal, self-harm and even suicide attempts. So far, around 400 asylum seekers found to be refugees have been settled in the community on Nauru in a deal struck between the Australian and Nauruan governments. But this isn't the answer. Nauru has around 90% unemployment. Locals fear refugees are taking precious jobs. There have been a number of serious assaults on newly settled refugees, including children. People have been beaten, had rocks thrown at them, even attacked with knives. It's unfair to put refugees in a community where they have little hope of rebuilding their lives, and it's unfair for the people of Nauru to take on Australia's responsibilities. Earlier this year, the Prime Minister told Parliament, "No one wants to see children in detention." To its credit, the government has released most children out of detention in Australia, but only after they held them in detention for record lengths of time. And in spite of overwhelming evidence about the damage being caused, they continue to detain children on Nauru. No other country in the world mandates the indefinite detention of children. Every day in detention means more harm done. It's time to get children and their families off Nauru and bring them to Australia, where their refugee claims can be processed safely.